So this is the second round of glue. And then I use a spray-on adhesive to attach the backing cloth.
Really make sure it stays in place.
And then more of this glue. So yeah, really, really a lot of glue. As you can imagine, we get through a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
So how much longer are you in London?
Till Saturday.
Oh, nice. So you've still got a few days then. That's good.
As a writer, there's this thing called NaNoWriMo.
Oh yeah, I know it.
So that starts tomorrow.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So I'm gonna find a cafe somewhere and just write for as long as I can.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I've always thought it's such a good thing NaNoWriMo because
It's fantastic.
it gets people just to sit and do it, which is half the battle really, isn't it, if you're a writer?
Yeah, showing up is the hardest thing.
100%.
And then next week I'm in France for a writing retreat.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So basically you're doing a European tour of writing
Yeah.
retreats. I
A
like
little
that.
creative retreat.
Yeah. That's so nice. Get all your creative juices flowing so you can kind of go back rejuvenated. And
Exactly. Filling the well.
Got Indian takeout for lunch for the next 3 days. Greetings, it's almost 10 p.m. and I just got home. And I know what you're thinking. What is a young girl by herself doing out at night in London? Okay, well, I was on the Jack the Ripper walking tour on Halloween, no less. And that was cool. Learned some stuff. Saw some pictures that I kind of wish I hadn't seen. So with it being Halloween, it's obviously the last day of Preptober, and I have not written since we were in Edinburgh, and even then, the last several days of us being there, I didn't write. I don't know, at least a week and a half since I've like really written. The inspiration I gleaned from the writing conference, which was a lot, is waning. And part of the thing about that was the writing conference was such a like brain dump, and by brain dump, like I guess I mean the opposite of a brain dump in that it was more like a brain absorption. There was so much going into my brain, so much energy expelled that by the time I got home from the writing conference, even though I was like buzzing with like inspiration and joy from the experience, I was also very tired and just mentally exhausted from it. And then today, which is the first day after the writing conference, I had the rug tufting this morning. Oh, I already showed you. I'll show you again. Oh, it's upside down. Here's my rug that I tufted. Look at it up close. Look at it. It smells like glue still. She put like 3 different kinds of glue on it. See how thick it is? Yeah. And it's very soft. This is not my own design. I literally Googled like rug tufting designs and picked one, and then I just picked my own colors. So I had this class this morning. That was like 3 hours. Came home, ordered a bunch of Indian food, ate that, watched Love is Blind, did a few admin tasks, and then had to go for the Jack the Ripper tour at like 7:30, and now it's 10 p.m. I haven't written in a week and a half. NaNoWriMo starts tomorrow. I told myself maybe I'll sit down and like midnight try to start writing, even if it's just for like half an hour or an hour, just try to do something. Then I would go to bed, and then tomorrow's like a cafe day. I don't have anything booked. I was thinking of texting 1 or 2 of the people that I met at the writing conference and asking if they have any availability. And then the other thing is tomorrow's my first day to like truly rest as well, since I've been in London the 3 or 4 days that I've been here so far. So it's unfortunate that it coincides with NaNoWriMo. I didn't necessarily want it to end up like this. I wanted to have some downtime before NaNoWriMo started, but it just didn't work out that way with the conference and everything. And then the other thing is like where I am with my stories. Okay, so I'm supposed to be writing Dark Storm Cloud / Project Whisper, the same story, 2 different names for it, for NaNoWriMo. That is a story I was planning to write ever since I finished Hotel Story over a month ago. And spent spent 1 or 2 weeks earlier this month, planning that story. Then I went to the writing conference and I pitched Hotel Story to 2 agents. And the feedback that they gave me was concrete feedback that I could actually figure out how to implement. And so part of me is like, should I just do that for NaNoWriMo? Should I just revise Hotel Story? Because in addition to the feedback that they gave me, I also have a list of changes that I want to make. And it's been a month. And a month is potentially, technically long enough of a break to give myself. But I sort of made a commitment to myself. And I feel this is the thing about Project Whisper, is that it's a dark story. It's got dark themes. It takes place in like Scotland. And at this point, I'm by myself, right? Like, I'm traveling on my own. I am spending time on my own. I am the master of my own schedule right now. I'm literally never going to have a better time to write this story. And the reason that I'm saying all these things with this story, like, obviously I can write in any time, in any place. And I would write in any time, in any place. But this story is like, because it's so dark and it deals with such heavy themes, I think there's something about being by myself that will make it better for me to write this story. Because like, if this story, what am I trying to say? I just feel like this story will be an emotional experience for me, because I'm using it as a way to deal with, for example, my own grief and my thoughts and reflections on things like death and life and stuff like that. And I know how that sounds, but if writing is a form of therapy, and writing is a tool, even fantasy stories are a tool to explore themes that we experience in the real world, why not? You know, I need to work through my grief in a way that's, I think, a bit more tangible. And I've always wanted this story to do that. So I feel like it would just be easier to kind of get in touch with those emotions while I'm on my own. I'm going to hang this on the wall in my office one day. I'll let you know if I write. I'll bring you with me if I do. Hi, good morning. So it's 10:30 in the morning. It's the first day of NaNoWriMo, and my plans today were to go to the British Library and just like check it out, see what it looks like, and then just like try to hole up there for a couple hours and write if that's possible. But I just am so unmotivated today to do anything. Like even picking out an outfit. And I told myself that I was literally just going to wear this sweater, which I've been wearing in the house every day that I've been on this trip, and a pair of leggings, and just be very cozy. Even just to do that, I'm so unmotivated just to pick an outfit, a simple outfit that I'm already half wearing. And I was thinking about like why that is. And what I feel is like lazy, but the last couple of years I have reevaluated my definition of the word lazy. Laziness can be an indicator of something, deeper going on, like I'm mentally exhausted, or I'm physically exhausted and I just need rest, or I'm procrastinating doing something because I'm anxious about doing the task. And for me today, it's definitely the mental exhaustion and the anxiousness of doing the task of writing, of sitting down with this story, especially because, like I mentioned, it's such a heavy story and it's a new story that I really care about. And so I'm I really obviously want to get it right. And obviously it's the first draft. I don't have to get it right and perfect, but it still feels like that doesn't stop you from feeling anxious about it. And then I was thinking about the last few days, okay, why am I mentally exhausted? Well, it's literally been nonstop for the last few days. A week ago yesterday, we did an all-day tour. Right after that all-day tour, it was mentally preparing for John to go home. And then right after he left, I had to pack. And the next day, I woke up early, I got on the train, and I left Edinburgh to come down here. And then it was okay, we'll have to think about food for the next couple of days because I'm not going to have time to go shopping. Then I had the writing conference for 2 days, which was a fantastic experience, but still very mentally exhausting. Meeting all the people, being social as somebody who's not used to being that social, learning all this stuff about writing, all these good things, and even just talking to agents and putting my heart on the line and talking to them about it and receiving criticism. And the next day after that, this sounds really funny but anyway, it's still a thing that I had booked, which was to go to the spa, which is supposed to relax me and everything, and I think it did for the time that I was there. But I think I just found myself, because then I had to walk around London and stuff, it was the area that I was in was just so so packed with like people. So it was just like constantly breathing in cigarette smoke, constantly being bombarded by people, and it's still very much a sensory overload, I think. And then the next day after that, which was yesterday, I had to wake up. I did the tapestry class, and then did a Jack the Ripper tour in the evening. In between doing the tapestry class and the Jack the Ripper tour, I had to do like a lot of administrative stuff. Like I had to email some people. I had to like book some onward travel. Like I hadn't even booked my flight home yet. I hadn't booked my tickets to like go down to France or anything like that. So I don't know. It was just a lot of, I mean, just that's expensive, you know? But my point is that I just had like things booked back to back to back to back without like any real like rest or an opportunity to just like sit down and be still. And so today, naturally, I set myself up for failure by, you know, just thinking November 1st, I'm going to be fine and just be able to like sit down and write when I haven't written in like 2 weeks. That's just how I'm feeling today. So while it's like, okay, well, Sydney, just stay home for the day. It's like, yeah, I can. I still have a couple more days left in London. I have nothing booked for today, but there's still like the mental obligation to do tasks. Just a lot. It's like I just was feeling, you know, all directions of stress and obligation and anxiety and stuff. So that's just how I'm feeling today. So, but when I think about staying home today, I don't even really want to do that. It's like I want to get out and get some fresh air, walk around, stretch my legs, maybe see something new. But sometimes you just really need to like force yourself to just stay put, you know. So especially because I have things booked tomorrow as well. This is what's happening is I'm staying home today. I can still write here. Like there's a perfectly lovely balcony out here that I could sit and write. There's a dining table. There's a desk in the room. You know, and there's options. You know, it's very nice of a place to be. So I'm very lucky in that regard. The pressure of this trip being a creative retreat for me and doing it around NaNoWriMo as well, it's like there's an obligation to participate in that. If I were to go home and not have participated in NaNoWriMo, it will taint the trip and make it feel like a waste, and it will take away from all the other positive experiences that I had. And like, which is kind of, I don't know, part of me is like, such a stupid way to feel, because like next week I'm going down to France to do a writing retreat, which is focused on NaNoWriMo. I don't even have to do NaNoWriMo here in London. I could just like not worry about it yet. I could just decide not to start NaNoWriMo until I get down to the writing retreat, and that's perfectly valid. Especially because I've been, you know, so either mentally or physically busy the last few days that I haven't even had a chance to really prepare. Like I said, I haven't written in a couple of weeks. Like I haven't planned my story. I haven't thought about the plot or the characters that much in the last couple of weeks. And I just really do feel unprepared to sit down and write today. I feel like what I need to do is just plan and stuff. Like I learned some things at the writing conference about character building that I really want to implement and just haven't, or like play with, and I just really haven't had time to do that. And I think that it would be best if I could just do that before I start writing, just because like I want to make sure that everything in this story is rooted back to my character, who she is, her background, the lessons that she needs to learn, the obstacles that she needs to face to grow. And I want the plot that she faces and the other characters that she comes into contact with in the world to all be tied to those lessons that she needs to learn. You know what I mean? So, because I feel like oftentimes it's sort of like I have this character, I have this world, I have this plot, but they're not necessarily tailored to the character. Like it's like if you want your character to learn specific lessons and to evolve in specific ways, the plot and the world and the other characters need to be geared to make that happen. I think right now maybe I will just go sit out on the balcony while the sky is dry, and I'm just going to put off starting NaNoWriMo until I'm at the writing retreat. And in the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy my time here, try to relax when I can, and enjoy the downtime I have when I have it. don't know how well you can see it, but it's suddenly very foggy over there, and it's because it started raining. It's not here yet, I don't think, but it will be soon, I'm sure. Oh, I just felt a drop. Does this mean it's time to go inside? I'm feeling better though. I think I just needed to remove the pressure to write. And like I have my notebook here, I was looking over the notes I took at the festival about character building and just making basically a to-do list of things I need to flesh out for my character Frances. Because I feel like I understand her character, but I don't know the concrete details of like how and what exactly happened to her and how that influenced her. Like I do know like one thing that happened to her, like she lost somebody close to her, and I know I kind of know how. I have to flesh it out a bit more, but I know how. But I haven't thought specifically about like how that affects what she believes about the world and the people in it and her place in it. I have a bunch of things that I want to happen in the story. Not a bunch of things. I have some things I want to happen in the story, but I don't know how all those things relate to. Like I don't know how to flow between all those things, and so I think that grounding everything in her character arc and development will help to shed light on how to make those other things that happen in the world come together. Like one of the people at the talk, her name was Judith Bryan, and she said that I wrote it down. Let me see what I wrote down. Each complication, external event, or crisis in the story provokes the main character's basic need. They will either resort to their greatest strength or their fatal flaw. And then generally speaking, if they resort to their fatal flaw, like so for example, if they're a people pleaser, something happens in the story and the main character's reaction to that thing happen will be to try to please the people in the situation. But that being her fatal flaw means that the results, the consequences of that situation are going to be, it's potentially going to make things worse for them, versus if you look at their greatest need, which might be sort of a spin on a people pleaser. Their greatest strength might be that they're selfless. And so if they rely on their selflessness in that situation, then things might turn out better for them. With Frances, I kind of view her as a people pleaser. I have to develop this more and then see if that is her most fatal flaw or if that's just a flaw that she has. But like if her greatest or if her fatal flaw is that she's a people pleaser, then every complication that she has in the story will sort of threaten to bring that side out of her. And it's whether or not she defaults to that or if she like tries to push past that to overcome that flaw. I feel like the rain has already passed. It already stopped raining. It's what, less than 5 minutes of rain. And then furthermore, like looking at the character's arc through the story, like where does she start will help you to determine where she ends up. You know, if there's a flaw that she needs to overcome, if there's a strength that she needs to learn to rely on and to trust in herself with that. And then also looking at her role in the world. Like you're obviously seeing the story through this character's perspective for a reason. So you need to put that character to work in showing you this world, but also showing you why you're seeing it through their eyes and over anyone else's. So like what does this character bring to the world to potentially change it? And it doesn't have to be a world on like the grander scale of like the world, but it could just be like the situation that this character is facing. Why do we see it through her eyes instead of someone else's? So I have to think about that as well. And all the characters that she comes into contact with should each be a representative of some facet in the world, some value or belief of a society, you know, that having her interact with these different characters is a tangible way to have her interact with the world. So I hope that makes sense. But that's the stuff that I have to figure out. And I think easier said than done. Hi again. When I was at the conference and I spoke to the agents, one of them I was telling her about my ship story project Pitchfork, and that was more to her taste than the story I actually submitted. So she said to send this one to her via query. And I was also looking at the other agent I spoke to, and I didn't get a chance to mention my other novels to her, but looking at her manuscript wish list, some of the things that she's interested in are reflected in Pitchfork as well. So I think I'm just gonna send it to both of them. And in the query letter, I'll mention that we talked at the conference, but right now, and what I've been doing since yesterday is revising my query letter and synopsis. I reduced my synopsis. It was like 700, I think it was almost 800 words. And I reduced it to just over 600 words. I was trying to get it down to 500 words, but I at least got it to a page. But then I double spaced it just to make it easier to read. So now it's like almost 2 pages, but it's still only 600 words. I used the advice that they gave me for my hotel story query letter and synopsis, which is essentially to tighten it up and also to focus on like the main thread of the story. So I applied that advice to the query and synopsis for Pitchfork. Gosh, this is like, my dad told me that like my grandma, like, because my dad was one of 9 children growing up, and when my grandma was calling for one of them, she would go through the list of their entire names before she finally got to the name she meant to say. And I feel like that's what's happening with me with these stories. It's like hotel story, Stormcloud, you know? So anyway, but yeah, I'm going to read through it one last time, and then I'm going to finalize the format so I can send it to each of the agents. And then just get it out of my head, because I feel like this is another thing that's occupying my brain space that's making it hard for me to focus on what's my child's name? Dark Stormcloud, Project Whisper. Also, I don't know anything about being an American who lives in America and is submitting to agents in London. What's the situation there? Like, can you do that? So one of the things that kept getting stressed throughout the conference was reading your work out loud. And reading it like with a human voice and not just like the robotic like Microsoft Word voice or one of those, things, because it's not going to convey the rhythm. Like one of the things you're looking for is rhythm, and the robotic voice just doesn't have the personality to convey that. So anyway, I'm reading my synopsis out loud, and one of the first things I noticed is that every sentence is like, not every sentence, but a lot of the sentences, even just in the first paragraph, are like, Amber this, Amber that, Amber this, she that, she this. And so I just need to vary up the sentence structure a little bit, because it's very like, let's bring some rhythm to it, Pretty cool. I just noticed this today. There's this disco ball here, and with the sun coming like shining really brightly into the apartment, the disco ball's projecting all these like white dots all over the room. That's pretty cool. Greetings. So I am doing some story planning, but I'm realizing that there is some redundancies with the elements of my story. So for example, I have like a certain group of people being attacked in this story, but I'm realizing that there's like at least 3, maybe 4 different forces that are doing the attacking, and I'm realizing that I don't need that many. I probably just need 1, maybe 2, depending on how everything is related to one another. So looking at the different elements of the story, I just need to streamline, like, okay, what is each element of the story accomplishing? How is each element of the story moving the plot forward? How does each element of the story relate to the other elements of the story? And just trying to streamline, like if you find 2 or 3 of the elements are basically playing the same role in the story, well, something needs to go, or something needs to play a different role. So this is the part where I have to kill my darlings, because obviously there are certain elements of the story that I'm very attached to. And also I've written 30,000 words of this story, most of which I still really like and would like to keep. But where the story took place for most of that first 30,000 words, that's where one of the major redundancies are. I guess maybe what I should do is maybe I could list out all the various elements of the story and like say pick 3 of them that I really want like or need to keep in the story, and then try to connect those things to one another, and then just like take a step back from that and figure out, okay, here are the other elements that I have remaining, these being less important than the first 3 that I picked. Now, how can I bring these in to fit with these 3 elements? And if they don't fit, then maybe they've got to go, or I've got to be flexible enough to change them. And that's where this is hard. So I've got to put it in my brain that just because I get rid of something from the story doesn't mean that thing is just gone from my life, you know? Like, I can still use those elements maybe in a different story. I've got to be ruthless and cutthroat, and it's very hard to do. So wish me luck. Hi, so I've just done what I've said I've done. I've listed all the main elements of the story and have picked 3, really 4, that I want to keep, which leaves 3 of them that I've decided are sort of a separate thing. So it's like you can kind of think of like all the elements of the story that I've listed, 7 altogether, fall in one of 2 veins, I guess, of the story. Like there's this thing that exists in the story, and there's sort of a positive and a negative version of it. I'm trying to be very vague. And so some of these elements fall on the positive vein, and some of these things fall in the negative vein. So I've decided to stick with the negative vein. So the things that are on the positive vein, while they create an interesting juxtaposition to what's on the negative vein, it overcrowds the story by having both. And you might be saying like, oh, why don't you just pick 1 or 2 things from each vein? The problem is that at that point, I'm sort of forcing things to relate in a way that maybe they just don't want to be related. Like, I feel like the elements on the positive vein are almost an entire separate story. And the elements on the negative vein are the things that I'm actually wanting to focus on. The problem is that the first 30,000 words that I originally wrote largely falls on the positive vein. So I'm wondering if I might have to start from scratch. So I have to take a step back and figure out now how everything relates to my main character. And I don't have a lot of time anymore. Like, in the next 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to have to start getting ready because I'm going to go see The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. And then shortly after that, I'm going to an art school girlfriend concert tonight. Busy night, busy evening.